We are on step 10, and in AA, step 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And I always show you 3 books. I'm actually reading 6 now because somebody will recommend, wow, you should read this book too. And somebody, you're reading 6 books? I'm reading them a chapter at a time. I'm reading them a step at a time, if you will. And so they all have unique ideas. I'm not going to do quotes from all of them, or that would be my talk. So in 12 Steps for Everyone, he says step 10, we continue to be responsible and accountable for all our actions, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it and made amends. Russell Brand, and again, I've changed a word, watch out for messed up thinking and behavior and be honest when it happens. And then Karen Lindsay in step 10 says, continue to practice self-reflection as a way of life and remove the clutter as it happens. And what I'm really going to talk about is commitment. So thank you, Dave, for teeing that up for me. And thank you for that song, because that's about commitment also. And I belong on a ministerial listserv that is all of the ministers that want to belong across the world that are part of this philosophy, and they send out different quotes, they send out different ideas, and probably about Wednesday, Reverend Willa Barber sent out this email, and I said, could I read it to my community on Sunday, because it's important to what I'm going to talk about commitment. And she felt very blessed and said yes. And what I will tell you was, this was before Saturday. So now, instead of just one person, and it would have been more than one people anyway, but now as I read this, I want you to think about the people that went to a Walmart on Saturday morning to buy their kids school clothes and tablets and pencils, stuff that we all have done if we're parents, or just going to Walmart to do something else. And that was the end of their day. Or that people that went out in Dayton, Ohio to celebrate, and 9 of them never saw the rest of Sunday. And it starts out, beloveds. I know I'm singing to the choir here, yet I was moved to share this with you. Perhaps one or a few of you will benefit from my offering. A friend of mine made positive changes in her life over 20 years ago. She loved her family. She was the unselfish caregiver to her father. She was working on reuniting with her adolescent son and had recently reconnected with her adult son. She loved her grandbabies, her fellow brothers and sisters in recovery, and she loved her life so very much. She had a huge, generous heart, and she gave so much to so many, and she suffered, physically in ways she publicly shared, and perhaps emotionally in ways that she kept private. She was killed in a car accident this past weekend. In an instant, everybody's life changed. How many of us are hanging on to anger and resentments? How many of us don't talk to this relative or that person because of stuff that happened in the past? How many of us are attached to being right instead of doing the next right thing? How many of us are a member of a fractured family, yet are unwilling to take a stand and a step towards healing? How many of us are walking around saying, it's all good, when the truth is, it's not? Yes, I believe and know there is good in everything, yet it doesn't always look good or feel good. How often do we suffer in silence because we don't want folks who care about us to know what's really going on? Perhaps because we are too pride-filled, embarrassed, or filled with shame, or don't want to burden anyone, or don't want anyone to know, or because it's hard for us to ask and receive. Instead, we choose to suffer in silence, choosing instead to walk the often topsy-turvy path of life alone, separating ourselves from those who love us and from our greater good. In an instant, life can change. Please, people, please lay your burdens down. Open up your mind. Open up your heart. Open up your mouth. Open up your hands. Reach out, make that phone call. Write that letter. Send that text. Forgive. Make amends. Talk about what's really going on. Ask for help. Share your heart and your soul. Your hurt, your disappointment, your fear, and your pain with someone, which will help to dissipate it and open wider the pathway of healing through connection, conversation, and love. Talk about it. Stop talking about the past. Stop holding on to what was. Let that stuff go. Talk about what you desire to change and what you desire to see and to be in as your life. Everything is energy. Our words, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our actions are creative. Speak your life, your love, and your joy into existence, and share your triumphs and your joys, your love and your life with other people. Whether you know them or not, we need each other. We truly do, and we are better together. We truly are. So what about commitment? So yesterday, I went on a 13-mile hike, which is different than, I have walked 20 miles a day with the breast cancer walk. Hiking is different because first you're in hiking boots, and second you're on paths that have rocks and tree limbs, and so you have to be very mindful, and you're stepping, up and over and around, and it was delightful, and I loved it. And I thought about my talk all the way out to this gorgeous lake and all the way back. And what I thought about was the word commitment, and I want to thank Dave for saying that about me. And what I want to let you know is this talk is for me. If you benefit from it, great. If you want to take offense that I say something, remember, I already reminded you, this talk is for me, so don't take offense. What I realized is how much time I have wasted in my life watching TV. And I thought about what if there was a heaven, and what if St. Peter was standing at the gates and said, "So Gayle, what'd you do with your life?" "I binge watched Frankie and Grace." Does that count? Now, I have done things in my life that I am very proud of, and yet what I realize is I would imagine that Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, the guy that does Virgin Air, Richard Branson, the people that really are doing things in the world, they have the same 24 hours every single day that I do. The exact same number of minutes and seconds and hours. I wonder how much time they spend sitting in front of a TV. I wonder how much time they spend thinking it's important to check out what's going on Facebook. I wonder how much time they spend just in creative energy. Walking outside and really, really not just being outside, but looking at what we have been given. Susan talked about it this morning in our prayer circle, that she was grateful for summer and she was grateful for the beauty of this world. How many of us really take time to go, my God, Mount Rainier is beautiful. I don't care how many times I see it, and I get to see it every single day I go home when it's out. Every single day I get to see that mountain, and I never get tired of it. How many times do you cross a floating bridge and just delight at all that water? Trust me, I lived in New Mexico for 8 years. There's not a lot of water there. There's beauty there. It's just different. And so for me, as we were walking and we were talking about, because, you know, you all know Paul's a musician. I'm doing this. And we came to the realization we're dabbling. If we're committed, then we're not going home. And the first thing we do is sit on the couch, turn on the TV, and watch the rest of Stephen Colbert, because you can't watch it all before you come to work in the morning. And so our commitment to each other is no TV during the week. I'm not willing to give it up totally, but I'm willing to give it up 5 out of 7 days. Because really, if this life is mine, this life is now, am I getting anything from TV other than entertainment? And entertainment is good, but if I want to make a difference in the world, am I going to get that from TV? Those people are making a difference. To provide me comedy or drama, life is full of that already. And we insulate ourselves from it. Or I do. Because I go home and I think I've deserved the right to sit and numb out with a TV because I've worked very hard during the day. Who cares? At the end of the day, if I'm going to numb out, all I have disappointed besides myself is all of you. Because if I'm not numbing out, I'm going to get better at what I'm doing. Right? And the only way to do that is commit myself to being better, which means I need to put in more hours at what I'm doing. So it's easy to numb out. We've been given all the tools necessary to do that. Every single one of us. Every single one of us has a cell phone. And now it's not only a cell phone that we can talk to people on. Oh, good grief, no. Now we can text them, we can FaceTime them, we can watch TV on them, we can watch any sport we want on them. We can do anything we want to just by this little thing that we hold in our hand. How brilliant is that? It keeps us numb. It keeps us out of society. It keeps us from being present with each other and with ourselves. Do you know that our band, every Saturday night, this band is playing somewhere along with Kyle. Every Saturday night. Every Sunday morning they show up here and they tell me how long it took them to get home, how much sleep they got, and they're tired. Would you know they're tired? No. Some of them also have full-time jobs. However, I would imagine not a lot of time is spent with a device other to either find out about music or book music somewhere, because that's their passion and that's their life. What if we all did that? How many of us say to ourselves, I'm so busy? I know I did. I'm so busy. I don't have time. It was a real wake-up call for me to do that walk and to have that conversation in my head with God and make that commitment, not only to myself, not only to my higher power, and to my husband, and now to all of you. And do you know why all of you? Because my expectation is next week somebody's going to ask me, how much TV did you watch? Did you watch TV during the week? It is why when I got clean and sober, I told everybody, because I work with accountability. That doesn't work with everybody. It works with me. I want people to hold me accountable. It makes me a better person. So please, next week, ask. If you see me during the week, ask. I'm looking at Cynthia because she sees me during the week. Ask. Find out. Because here's the thing. I have to break a habit. I have to break a habit of walking in the house, petting my dog, and going right to the couch. It's a habit. Just like there is a habit when I have my cell phone in my hand, I have to look at it. And so I'm taking a class with Mark Anthony Lord, and it's called the Manifestation Method. And we're a beta group. Eventually it's going to be offered to everybody, and when it is, I highly suggest you take it. And one of the commitments he had us all make was to look at your email once a day. Now, I will tell you, when I come in the morning, I open up my email, and it's open all day long. And the minute you write me, I think I have to write back to you instantly. So I'm telling you all now, I get 24 hours. I thank you. I get 24 hours to answer your emails. I get 24 hours to answer your texts. And I post on Facebook for Genesis. I post very little for myself, about myself. Every once in a while I do. I was going to post the hike we went on, and then I thought, that was my hike. Brene Brown shared in her latest TED Talk that she's in a boat with her daughter. And she's sitting across from her daughter, and her daughter all of a sudden goes, and she said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm painting a picture in my mind of what this looks like, so I won't forget." We forget how powerful our minds are. We have given away everything, in my opinion. We have given away everything to technology. And it's not bad. It's not good. It's a choice. And I have decided that I want to make a different choice for the rest of my life. And what I would like all of you to think about, especially those of you in this room that are younger than me, don't wait to be my age to make that choice. Because if our life is now, the choices are now to make a difference. I am on the other side of a ticking clock, which doesn't mean that and I'm not saying this as if it's going to happen, that I might not wake up tomorrow, or I might not be here tomorrow. That could happen also. And yet that is not my intent. And my intent from this day forward is to be bold, be courageous, and be fierce. And you can't be fierce watching TV. I'm sorry. You just can't. And if you want to continue watching, God bless you, go ahead. Just know I'm choosing a different path from here on, because I think it's important to me, and I think it's important to our world. Because the only way it's going to change is we have to quit doing things the way we've been doing it. So if you have the courage, how many of you believe that you might be watching too much TV? You could raise your hand. So I just ask you to think about, what would your life look like if you just cut it in half? You don't have to be as drastic. Just cut it in half. What would it look like? What could you do? Who could you talk to? Where could you spend your time? How could you be grateful this winter when it's cold and it's dark and it's raining, to remember, just by closing your eyes, what Mount Rainier really looks like on a clear, sunny day? Or what Puget Sound looks like when you can see the Olympics. The world is magnificent, and we have been given tools to ignore it. So for me, I'm going to pay more attention to my world and to myself and to you. That's the promise I make today to all of you. And now I want to close, because of Saturday, with a poem that was written by Maya Angelou. And it's called A Brave and Startling Truth. And this will be our prayer, and you can feel free to close your eyes if you choose. We, this people on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative we learn a brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms, when we come to it. When the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and Colosseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign soil, when the rapturous storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waving gaily, when the banners of the world tremble stoutly in the good, clean breeze, when we come to it. When we let the rifles fall from our shoulders and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed and the aged can walk into evenings of peace, when religious ritual is not perfumed by the incense of burning flesh, and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse, when we come to it. Then we will confess that not the pyramids, with their stones set in mysterious perfection, nor the gardens of Babylon, hanging as eternal beauty in our collective memory, not the Grand Canyon, kindled into delicious color by western sunsets, nor the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, not the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who without favor nurture all creatures in the depths and on the shores. These are not the only wonders of the world when we come to it. We, this people, on this minuscule and kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, yet who petition in the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this mote of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words, which challenge our very existence, yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living. Yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness, that the haughty neck is happy to bow, and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines when we come to it. We, this people, on this wayward, floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear, when we come to it. We must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. God bless you all. Namaste.